There's lots of reasons why the Xbox is catching up. And when I say catching up, I don't mean in sales, because that's going to be hard to really prove or track. But just in terms of general, and I'm sure everybody that's noticed, whether you're a PlayStation fan or whatever, that Xbox is actually doing rather well in terms of how people are receiving it. It's hard to say anything bad about it right now, right? I mean, the value proposition is there. There's a lot going on for it. And the very interesting part about this is a lot of people are wondering why. I was even wondering why, right? Back when old angry crap gamer mode was on, I was sitting there kind of saying, man, where was all this love for Xbox when I was sitting there, getting harassed every day for me liking Xbox. Right now it's fun to go in there and still, right, you have these people that I consider super cappers, and they're the ones that'll sit there on Twitter to try to come up with some kind of slick thing. Well, this is blah blah blah, and I still think that's ridiculous, right? Like, Xbox is great for sure, but to kind of go into a way and say, it's better than PlayStation because of this, I think is kind of ridiculous, and I also think the people that were hyping up the power difference was ridiculous. But I want to get into this because this is significantly why Xbox is doing so well lately, and it's being so well received, and it took me a while to figure this out, so I'm looking forward to doing the video. I'm sure it's going to be one you don't want to miss. Hey there everyone, I'm the Crap Gamer, and of course this is Crap Gamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice some cool changes around here, but hopefully that doesn't stop you from at least giving us a like, and maybe even possibly consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me today. It really does mean a lot. Now, I was just looking around, right? It's obviously a slow time in gaming news and things like that, so I'm like looking at some of the articles and stuff that really came up and recently, and I saw a couple that really kind of took me by surprise. One was on Forbes, where there's an article that says Xbox is about to leave PlayStation in the dust in 2022. Now, the interesting thing here is I actually don't agree with this guy, right? Like, his whole thing, and I'll read this. It says Microsoft has made huge strides in winning back gamers and welcoming in newcomers to the hobby. A radical about-face compared to the team-leading Xbox when the Xbox One launched in 2013. The driving force behind the rise of Xbox isn't the new Series X console or its baby brother, the Series S. Instead, it's the one-two punch of Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Cloud Gaming. While Sony still has the most desirable exclusives, primarily because we can only play them on PS4 or PS5, though increasingly they're releasing later on PC as well, the Japanese game maker has nothing comparable to Xbox Game Pass and xCloud Gaming. The closest thing Sony has to PlayStation now, but it's nowhere near as full-featured as Game Pass, which has better games, the ability to download games, and includes every single Xbox exclusive on day one. So, first of all, I just kind of want to correct something real quick. You can download games on PlayStation now as well. All the PlayStation 4 games are fully downloadable, so he's a little bit wrong with that instance. He says with xCloud Gaming, you can stream those games to your mobile device. In fact, with just a Game Pass, a smartphone, and an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription, you can play countless Xbox titles without even owning an Xbox. Now, here's the thing where things get kind of a little bit tricky, right? So, you need, something. So, you buy a controller. Let's say you don't have an Xbox, but you want to play Xbox games, which is so silly because honestly, why not just pick up an S or something? Because it's going to be running about the equivalent, and you would get so much better performance with the S. But anyway, basically you have to buy a controller, which is $60, $75. You have to have a phone, which I know most of us already have one, but to get better performance, they actually have a specific kind of phone that you need some kind of clip for your controller or some kind of add-on peripheral for it. Yes, there are some games that have touch controls, but they're not very good. And then you have to pay the $180 for the year of streaming these games, in addition to needing very, very good internet for it. For instance, like, I don't have the best internet at home. I have like 25 megabits down, but I can't play xCloud at all, even though they say I should be able to. They say you only need a certain amount or whatever. It gets all blocky and then says that I can't play it. So, so basically you're already there. You might as well just get an Xbox Series S at that particular time. So, I've never been a believer in cloud gaming. I just don't like Sony was doing it long before Microsoft. I just don't think it's something that's going to be looked at as that great. But I mean, that is a reason. If you do enjoy that, and some people do, they're like, I play it on my work break or whatever. Hey, perfectly fine. The more interesting article that I saw was this article from Tom's Guide that says, my Xbox Series X has become a glorified Xbox 360, and that's fine with me. It says, for most gamers, the highlights of the week's Xbox 20th anniversary celebration was some of the surprise reveals and things like that. 76 games have been added to the Xbox backwards compatibility program. Among the list are excellent 360 titles like Max Payne 3, Fear, and one of their personal favorites, Skate 2. Confirmation that the entire Skate catalog is now playable on the Series X had them physically pumping their fists with excitement. He says, I managed to snag an Xbox Series X restock back in February after a couple of weeks of searching, and since then I've been used it mostly exclusively as an Xbox 360 emulation machine. In fact, over the last 9 months, I've played exactly 2 current-gen games on the system, Psychonauts 2 and Aliens Fireteam Elite. Granted, part of the reason for this is that PS5 is my primary system. Yes, I'm lucky to have both, so I play the vast majority of recent releases there, but I don't regret my $4.99 Xbox investment on the Series X. Being able to play games across 4 generations of a Xbox in a single machine justified my purchase alone. Since the Xbox backwards compatibility program launched in 2015, originally as a feature for the current gen Xbox One, Microsoft has made 695 previous gen games playable on the most recent Xbox, 632 Xbox 360 titles, 63 original. Not to mention every single Xbox One title has been playable on Xbox Series X since launch. Among the list of backwards compatible titles are some of the best games of the 7th generation of consoles, including Fallout New Vegas, Left 4 Dead, The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, Grand Theft Auto 4, and many more classic games. Just listing all the available titles worth playing or replaying would take up the entire article, which I will link the article. The smaller but still excellent selection of Xbox games shouldn't be overlooked either. Being able to easily access almost 20-year-old games such as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Max Payne 2, Time Splitters 2 on a modern console is nothing to sniff at. When I first booted up my Xbox Series X, my original plan was to check out the impressive Game Pass service, but instead I quickly found myself downloading the original Dead Space so I could revisit and battle hordes of nightmarish creatures like it was 2008 all over again. Now, the interesting thing is, I actually, I see this more and more, and when I'm sitting there going, why are so many people gravitating towards the Xbox? And I was like, well, I don't buy new consoles for old games, but I'm not everybody, right? And once I started to notice that, once I started to realize that, I'm like, I'm doing much better for having noticed that, not for having realized that. So just because I buy a new Xbox for newer games, and that's not to say I won't play any old games, because I will, but somebody else, like this guy's fine playing old games on it, and there's probably a lot of people that are fine just playing their older games. And when you think about the value proposition, it's huge that you can go back and play like so many 360 games, and to me, like, the original Xbox games don't matter as much because they didn't have achievements or anything, but some of the later Xbox 360 games still look great, and the fact that they get enhancements, and some of them 120 frames and 4K and all that stuff really just goes to a long way in people being able to do that. No, they've never been able to do that on console before. It was more of a PC thing. So being able to go back and do that, like most people, when they get a new console, they get rid of the old one, or it gets put up or something, and it doesn't get much play anymore. So the fact that you're going to be able to keep your games and be able to play them continually is a big deal. Some people buy a new Xbox because it's more powerful. Some people buy it for Game Pass. Some people buy it for the exclusive content. Some people buy it maybe for the cloud abilities and to be able to play it anywhere with the exclusives and stuff like that. So my main reason is, there's a lot of reasons why people play Xbox, and there's a lot of reasons why people play Xbox, and why it's doing so well and being able to catch up in people's minds, and to be able to do that, to accomplish what Microsoft has accomplished, I think is no short feat. To be honest with you, I think it's been absolutely fantastic to see so many people embrace Xbox. It really has been nice to see, and I gotta say, I never thought that I would see the day, especially after defending Xbox for years with the Xbox One, because I thought it got a little bit of a bad rap with the way everybody was treating it, because it had really good games to start off with, and people were acting like it was a leopard or something, right? Like, it doesn't really compute with me how many people really kind of just took that console and just smeared it, and didn't give it any kind of proper due or proper respect or anything like that. So very interesting to say the least, but I would love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions, just for the simple fact that you know, I love hearing about this stuff. I love talking about video games. I'm passionate about it, and I would very much appreciate each and every one of you if you could, you know, leave a like if you enjoy the content, come back, tell a friend, something along those lines. Happy holidays, rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Crap Gamer out.